5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0. All engine running. Liftoff.
The announcements that we get when it comes to WWE games, and I've been a wrestling fan for a long time, but I'm not quite sure what my first love was in the beginning. Was it wrestling or was it video games? We're here with Jareen Walker here, and he has a little insight on both things, on wrestling and on video games. What was your first love?
Nah, so yeah, my first love was definitely wrestling. I mean, I'm honestly outside of like the WWE games, I don't know if I play like too much, which is weird because I feel like you automatically think, doing what I do, I play like a whole bunch of games. And I mean, I played stuff here and there, but I definitely fell in love with wrestling way before video games for sure.
Who was your wrestler when you were coming up? Who was your fave at the time?
I mean, John Cena's I feel like every kid's answer growing up in the late 2000s. You know what I'm saying? I feel like, I mean, that's just normal. But other than him, it's got to be Jeff Hardy. 100%. I was a Jeff Hardy fanboy growing up. It was right around the time I started watching, like maybe like a year before he won the world title. So it was just cool seeing that come up for him. That was definitely Johnson is number one. Hardy's definitely number two for sure.
Mike, did you used to paint your face like Jeff Hardy as well? Did you do that?
No. No, I used to have the armbands like little holes in them. I used to. Yeah, man. I was wearing those to school and shit. I don't even know why.
To school?
I know.
So you mean to tell me like you would take like your sisters or your mom's like nylon stockings and cut finger holes in it?
Nah, they sold them. It was merchandise. You could put them on your arms. They had the little holes in it with the whatever.
Hey, listen, I wasn't judging.
That's okay. That's okay. It's okay.
So I can tell you what I did with other, with nylons and stockings at one other time, but that was in college. That was a long story.
In college, 4 scores ago.
But it seems as though that it is the wrestling that ties us together, but it's also video games that also bring us together as well in this world of geekdom. Early on, what was your favorite video games to play when you started gaming?
Well, the PlayStation 2 was my first console that I really like played things on consistently. Obviously, they had the wrestling games, but there was stuff like Mega Man. There's a couple Pac-Man games. Pac-Man World 2 is my favorite video game of all time. It's a little platformer. Yeah, I mean, stuff like that. I mean, the PlayStation 2, I still have it. It's not here, but I still have it back at the office where I record and stuff like that. Best console of all time, hands down. I've still the SpongeBob games, Madagascar games, just little things. You know what I'm saying? Cat in the Hat. I got these little like movie franchise games I used to play when I was a kid. Yeah, man. Yeah, that was my whole childhood.
It's funny because I would have figured you as an Xbox kid. I would have thought that you were Halo kind of guy. Like
so once the 360 came around, I started getting into Call of Duty on the 360. Black Ops 2 through like I want to say like Advanced Warfare. That was a big Call of Duty kid once the 360 came out.
Mike, were you early on? Mike is more of a Nintendo Wii guy. I know Wii kid.
Well, my first console was the Nintendo 64, so I had Super Mario 64, the Mario parties, all the other early stuff. And it's funny you mentioned the Xbox because I had an Xbox because I figured, I'd be friends with my classmates. Now they're all assholes, so I traded my Xbox for PS3, but I had the PlayStation 2 for the longest. And funny enough, I was just playing it recently because I was like so bored. I was like, let me play SmackDown, shut your mouth for a little bit. So I still plugged it in from time to time. But yeah, I did. I'm through a Nintendo guy. So I had the 64, the GameCube, and the Wii, of course. Thank God I didn't throw my remote at the TV, which was was very funny visuals on YouTube to see people throwing the stupid remote at the TV. But yeah.
Yeah, I too, I was big and heavy with the PS2. You might have a point with saying that that was the console of all consoles. Like as I've been going down memory lane, and I have emulators now. You know, I have a handheld emulator. It's it makes me nostalgic about those days of you know the PlayStation 2 and how it elevated it. When you were first getting into video gaming and such like that, um what was it that really was the appeal to playing a game? Because like for me, I was into sports, but I also like to get more into the adventure side scrollers, the Metrovania kind of games. What was the kind of games that you were more geared to?
So honestly, I think growing up, I had a lot of fun playing games with my mom specifically. She would be on the PlayStation 2 with me. We that Pac-Man game I was talking about, we played it together. Like we would literally like take turns doing the
Mhm.
level. And then once I got a DS, Nintendo DS, the Mario Brothers game that they had on there, me and her were going back and forth trading levels there. Those are like the fondest memories I have, especially like gaming as a kid. I didn't even have a memory card back then, so we literally have to leave the PlayStation on all night.
Right.
So it wouldn't lose our progress or whatever. But yeah, no, my mom definitely, I have a lot of fond memories with her playing the games when I was a kid.
That's awesome. And people tend to forget that that's where the opening relationships between kids and their parents is through video games. You know, it's never about discussing life and stuff. It's like let's beat Mario. Let's get to let's get through World 1 and 4 at the same time. Let's do the level skips. That's how that happens. Mike, when you were coming up and you were getting into your wrestling games, like what was like the big first game that you played for wrestling?
Mm. First wrestling game I think I had was SmackDown Shut Your Mouth for the PlayStation 2, and the funny thing was I skipped the whole Here Comes the Pain game and then went straight into SVR. So
Oh, okay.
I had SmackDown for the longest time, and then as I kept, because every year I would go to the Toys R Us store and get your SVR 06, 07, 08, 09. But every year, every time. Um, and and then eventually I went back. I got Here Comes the Pain, and I got the SmackDown Just Bigger games. And holy shit! I mean, Here Comes the Pain is really good, but those SVR the title games, every year I'll go and get those nonstop. It was always every October too. Every release date was the same.
As the elder statesman in this room, I have to say that I've had my fair share of video games, and most of them were, let's just say, garbage. They were so trash when it came to that. Uh, there was some, the Fire Pros were always on point when it came to having a close to feel of a real wrestling experience. There was one that in my generation, a matter of fact, it was on the PS2 as well. It was called Victory Pro. Victory Pro
Mm.
Wrestling is actually a real good one as well. I think they were signed from the same developers of Fire Pro. Uh, but I think of course, the GOAT is basically, in my opinion, the No Mercies. Definitely, it's like,
I had that as well.
yeah, the storylines is there. But then when you see the progression that comes from year to year for how wrestling developed in the video game genre, we got to see that they were a little bit more, I would say, accurate to the production and the creativity of wrestling as a whole. What you think, Jaren, about the whole progression of the early stages of wrestling of what it's come to now?
Man, I mean, I feel like it's a lot different nowadays just because they're not really trying to protect uh the illusion of wrestling being real anymore. You know what I mean? Like back in like the 80s, you could sit there and just punch each other for 20 minutes and do some bear hugs. People be like, yo, because they're thinking it's a real fight, you know what I mean? But nowadays when you got people who, don't or who know, pretty much everybody that watches wrestling nowadays knows that's predetermined or whatever. I think the style now is more, let's do the most impressive choreography that we can. And I think that that's not necessarily a bad thing, but it definitely I feel like maybe gets a little more dangerous because now a lot of people are worried about having moments that could result in seriously hurting themselves rather than trying to build up you know story progressions in a match. I feel like you still get a good mix nowadays, but I feel like you see more of that in wrestling now where it's who can do the coolest moves nowadays. You know what I mean? Which I don't hate. I just it's just more prevalent now.
We don't hear you, Jay.
Uh-oh.
You might sound.
Yeah, there we go. Sorry, I had the cough button. It's like there's this certain get off my lawn kind of wrestling fans who have this days of yore feeling of the modern day wrestling is now more of like how you would look at video game wrestling, and that's there's no legit finishers anymore. You could spam finishers. You could start the match with 5 finishers already. You're not building up to it. Everybody's kicking out of Canadian destroyers these days, or DDTs and pile drivers at one.
Oh yeah.
Mm-hmm.
What was it that we saw? Hook versus Samoa Joe, and he kicked out of the Muscle Buster at 1. I was like, what?
Resiliency.
I was like, what are we doing? So I think that we're getting that feeling that maybe they're, like you said, the choreography, or maybe the moments are there. Do you think, Jareen, that in wrestling that we could still get that same sentiment that we used to watch wrestling as a kid? You think that it could come back?
Oh, absolutely. There's a lot of storylines that have happened, recently in WWE and AEW that I feel like, because it's just like watching any other TV show. You know what I mean? Like, even though that it's scripted, it doesn't necessarily have to take away from your enjoyment of the story that they're building. I mean, especially the stuff with the bloodline stuff that happened last year with Roman Reigns and Sami Zayn, and the whole Hangman Page storyline in AEW, the whole MJF Adam Cole thing in AEW. I think obviously the whole the matches are important, but I think just when you are emotionally invested in whatever match you're seeing as well, I think that elevates it 10 times more, rather than you just seeing 2 wrestlers that are going to probably put on a good match. When there's a motive behind it, like a reason behind it, a feeling behind it, I feel like that restores that feeling in a long-term wrestling fan for sure.
Outside of wrestling, is there any other video game that's like gave you the feels like you've like been in a wrestling match or played through something that was epic? Like for me, the last game that I played that really had me connected with it was Ghost of Tsushima.
Oh wow,
was epic all across the board. Like I had me on my highs and the lows, and the gameplay itself and the storytelling was phenomenal. Is there any game that you've like had a connection with as well like that?
See, connection might be a weird word to put it, because I feel like I really enjoyed the last. Because when you said that, the games that came into my mind were the last 2 Resident Evil games. I really enjoyed playing those. Just the story of Ethan, the new guy. Those last 2 games I think that was the most invested I've been in the game in a long time. That and High on Life as well. I don't know if either of y'all played that.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, the guy from that I think made Rick and Morty made that game. So funny. It's very hard for me to get invested in certain games nowadays, because I just feel like a lot of them, like the lines are blurred between making things feel different than other games. But Resident Evil and High on Life, those are 2 of my favorite franchises as of late for sure.
Mike, have you been investing in games these days? Like, have you been able to sit down and get into a nice grind?
Not really. I mean, to be honest with you, the only game I've ever completed, like 100%, is fucking South Park The Fractured Butthole. That's a game I 100% completed, because I played like your GTAs, your Marios, and I try to complete them all, but eventually, after say like 5 hours, I'm like, okay, I'm done. I'm not sitting here forever. I do enjoy going on YouTube and watching people play like the Legend of Zelda, your GTAs, and even I will say the one game series I hate Kingdom Hearts. Watching people play that shit, I can't. The story is too complex. It's so stupid. The only attraction is just to go into the worlds, honestly. And that's the only appeal to me.
Don't let brother AJ hear that, because he'll come at you.
Fuck Kingdom Hearts. The story is stupid. The gameplay is fine, but the story is so stupid. but I can't find myself sitting and playing a game like for hours and hours at a time anymore. The only time really is like for any sports games and the WWE games.
I have this thing like called responsibilities these days. Like, I mean, come on, being an adult,
Same.
being an adult, right? So
Right.
these day and age, I find myself when I'm playing a game, I actually take the difficulty and put it to easy because all I really want to know is just the story and what I'm playing through. You know, I want to gain that sense of playing it.
You wuss.
I don't care. I don't have time to be sitting there fighting the same fucking boss for 3 hours. I'm not. No, let's get it. Let's get across. I got shit to do. I got dinner to cook. I got a child to help with their homework. Like, I mean, come on. Let me at least, if I'm playing Cyberpunk, I could hack the fucking computer in 3 seconds rather than fucking 3 minutes. Let's get it over with. But so I found that I actually found more enjoyment with doing that. Jareen, do you feel as though that this day and age with video gaming as with wrestling, are we progressing to something where even when it comes to, because everybody used to love the multiplayer, but are we progressing to come back to the one player kind of adventures or gaming that we had from years ago?
I mean, everybody's different. I mean, like personally, I would love playing more single player games. I mean, multiplayer is fun, but I feel like there's only so many things you can do with it. How many shooters can we play anymore? Online. How many? You know what I mean? It's like this. I feel like I'm playing the same game over and over again. I'm just spending a bunch of money to play the same game. So when you get stuff like you said, Ghost of Tsushima, and I brought up the Resident Evil series earlier. I mean, them story mode games. I feel like people haven't been cashing in on those as much lately. I think there's a big market for it still. Absolutely.
What's your outlook for the next gen consoles? Like, what do you see will be the biggest like advantage that's happening? I mean, we're just testing the water with like the Xbox Series X's and the PS5s, like and we're already discussing what the PS6 will look like or some shit like that. Like, what's the next thing that we're seeing? Is AI going to be like a big thing that plays a part in this?
It could be that. I feel like virtual reality has gone up and down in terms of popularity as well. But I think a lot of games might start utilizing that as well. Like you get to actually be in it and like experience. Like no matter what game it is, I think more games will probably start utilizing that. I think that would be a good experience personally. I've never used really virtual reality that much, but if you put one on and you said, hey, play whatever game, even a wrestling game, I think that would be sick. First person in a wrestling game with some virtual reality, I think that would go hard. That's kind of my hope and kind of my wishes. But in terms of where I actually think it's gonna, I have no idea. I mean, you already see like the graphics in these new games. I mean, these look unbelievably real. I don't know how much more real we can make things look, but I think we're gonna test them limits in the next few years.
Well, it was funny because when watching the commercial for the WWE 2K24, you saw the AI of Stone Cold, you saw the AI of Hogan.
Yeah, very scary.
Yeah, it didn't look too good.
Yeah,
Mike gives you, especially the Undertaker one, will give you some nightmares.
Yeah, it was kind. Yeah, like I said, it didn't look. It looked like a half-baked version of a bad Disney movie. Like it just looked like something was a tinge off.
Yeah.
But like I said, this is like the early stages of it. Which you being a tester and such, are we seeing that with the new series? Is that playing a little bit more into the 2K series?
You talking about AI?
Yeah.
No, I mean I think they just tried to make the trailer seem like those wrestlers were actually doing it rather than like I think that was more of a commercial thing. I don't
odd.
Yeah, I mean the experience that I had playing it, it's not too much AI kind of involved. I mean the trailer though, I get the fear from the trailer.
Yeah,
no, the Hogan and Austin one for me, those looked unbelievable.
Oh my god.
That looked more like a nightmare than a dream for anybody to get. It was horrific.
Even an AI version, Hogan had more hair than he does in real life.
He looked like a legit hot dog. He looked like looked like a hot dog. Jareen, how did you get into testing?
So, well, I mean, obviously, the content that I do and everything. I've been fortunate enough just for 2K to kind of have a relationship with me and just a lot of other YouTubers that play the game. You know, I've been doing, you know, wrestling game videos for I think like 10 years now, or you know, at least like 7-8 years. So I think just the more and more that my numbers have gone up over the years, the more they kind of started to you know, recognize me and you know, fly me and a bunch of other YouTubers out as well to start playing these games. I think that's the thing I appreciate about 2K is that they take our feedback very seriously, because we're the kind of the ones. I mean, we're free advertisement for, you know, these games every single year. You know what I mean? So I think if we're not satisfied, then there's a serious problem. So I think they want to take as many, you know, creators' opinions possible, and you know, use that to improve the game, and you know, to having conversations about, you know, what can be improved upon. Because I feel like in any video game fan base, there's just a bunch of people that just like want everything. You know, you can't have everything, but you know, especially because I'm not a game developer, I can't sit here and tell you how to make something better. But you know, I can give my feedback on just what I think should be improved upon and stuff like that. And I think that that's what they fly us out for, is to just kind of say, hey, play this. Is there anything wrong? Are you seeing something that we're not seeing? But yeah, I was actually just in Tampa last week. Was the Rumble last week? Yeah, I think
Yeah,
so.
we're a week removed.
Oh yeah, 1 week today. Or yesterday. And yeah, man, I mean, I got to play with a very small build. I think I'm going to be able to play with a full build a little later on in the month. But yeah, I mean, everything's been good so far in terms of that. But just to go back to the original question, I actually got contacted because they saw my TikTok page. They saw me posting the 2K clips on TikTok, and I told them everything else that I was doing, like with YouTube and Twitch, and they were like, "Oh," and then that's when they started kind of really getting involved with me. So yeah.
What was the because you said you've been streaming and reviewing and playing games for wrestling on YouTube for some time. What was the first wrestling game that you were streaming and playing first?
Well, I've been playing wrestling video games, oh man, since like SmackDown versus Raw 2008. I think that was my first one, and I've gone back and played a couple of the older ones too. But something when I first started actually making the content, I want to say 2K15, WWE 2K15 was my first one. Yeah, and I've been going hard with it. I've been going, you know, every day, almost every day now for all those years, 7-something years. So, you know, it's a lot of work, but it's, you know, it's paid off. It's paid off.
It has to be, because you know, were you able to like to be one of those early on to jump on the streaming the wrestling games at that time?
Well, streaming, no, I feel like a lot of people were doing like the whole gameplay stuff that I was doing originally. But no, I didn't really get into streaming, I want to say, until maybe like 2019, 2020. I was very late. On that. Yeah, I wish I had gotten on that train earlier. I used to literally record my videos through the Twitch app on Xbox, and then I would upload those videos to YouTube. That's literally how I recorded, because I didn't have a way to record it myself. But yeah, in terms of actually like trying to get like streaming numbers up, no, I was a late bloomer on that one.
Yeah, I always tell people I may be late to the party, but when I get there, I turn it up. I always turn up. Mike, you have any questions for him?
Yeah, I was gonna say, because the first time like I was introduced to you was during a heel turn, and there's a funny story about that, but we'll get into that later if you want.
Sure.
But when I started seeing your content and I started noticing that you were at the 2K events, I was like, oh shit, like that's really impressive. Because I assume they reach out to you, they give you an email, they like, as far as like travel and that stuff, like that's all on you, right? Or is it all pay expenses?
No, they hook it up. They hook it up with the flight, the hotel, even like the Uber vouchers to get to the airport and stuff like that. No, they hook it up. I'm very fortunate.
And you were able to go to the Rumble too because it was 2K.
Yeah. They got us tickets to the event. I think I went last year to the Rumble in San Antonio. They had us in a press box. This year was on the floor, which is pretty cool. So we got the hookup this year.
Yeah, and for anybody that's listening to this now, there's content going on your channel as of now, right?
Oh yeah,
footage you captured.
Yep. I'm doing it every other day schedule now, but I got a couple more 2K24 videos still in the vault that are coming out in the next couple of days.
So when it comes to this year's game, is there anything you can tell us that, like, what was your first impressions?
So again, I had a very, very small build for the Tampa event. I got to play the ambulance match. They added an ambulance match in the game. The new backstage brawl that they had, and we got to play a little Royal Rumble too. It feels a lot smoother like that. I think they have added, and just from the stuff that I know that it's going to be in the full build of the game, like they had a special guest referee back and everything, and a casket match, and the showcase mode with all the old WrestleMania matches in it. Just for me playing what I did play, it feels a lot smoother, a lot more new additions into the game. Like they have like the trading blows mini game where like instead of like they used to have chain wrestling where I think if you lock up at the same time, you get to like do different holds going back and forth. But now they have the little trading blows thing where you can literally go like the yeah boo punch back thing. That's very cool. Blood, like it's first of all you get gushing blood when somebody gets busted open now, which is awesome. And then if they go face down on the mat, it stains the mat. Like you literally get blood stains on the canvas, which I think is awesome. So just little things like that, and that's what I love about the games. It's like little like tweaks just to make things better. Because I feel like the way that things are or and have been haven't necessarily been bad. I think because whenever a new game comes out, people expect it to look different every year. You know what I mean? Like they expect it to be a completely new graphics wise, and I never really cared about that. But just the little tweaks and the little things to improve upon, because there's a lot of flaws in previous games as well. But from what I played, it's looking pretty good. I'm very excited to play the full build of it.
I think we can honestly say 20 was probably the worst one they did so far.
So I mean, listen, I had to play that game for 2.5 years on the channel. Because they didn't make a 2K21. It was so bad that they skipped 2K21 and they went to 2K22. But I'm trying to think. Is it I think it might be the worst performance-wise. I just think that the chaotic nature of it kind of made it a little entertaining. So I have a little bit of a soft spot for 2K20. But yeah, if you call it the worst, I wouldn't disagree with you. I wouldn't disagree with you at all.
Actually, the worst was the Switch version. What was it of 19? Was it?
Oh, 2K18.
Oh, yeah, 18.
Oh my God! I begged Nintendo to give me my money back. I was livid. Did you ever hear anything of the what and the why? Why there was never any patches to fix or anything?
No, so I honestly got involved with 2K during the 2K20 era. I didn't really do anything with them for 18 and 19, but I have seen exactly what you're talking about. I've seen the Nintendo Switch 2K18 gameplay. I don't even know why the hell they released that game. It was not done. It was not ready. And that's why I don't think they made another one for the Nintendo Switch since then.
My friend purchased it, and he said because he thought it was going to be cheaper and like more better than the PS version and the Xbox. He couldn't stop bitching to me for months. He couldn't get a refund. He was screwed.
Yeah, I bashed him on Twitter. I was livid. I couldn't get it. I was like, how could you do this to the people? This is
how could you do this?
Yeah.
The other thing that I've often admired, but I'm just upset that we don't get to see it on consoles so much, is the modding. The modding is just exceptional when you see it on PCs. And they have opened the door a little bit more when it comes to the creator wrestlers and such like that, where the mods have been sliding in a little bit more. Are we going to see that on 2K24 this year, where they're still going to allow a little bit of that?
I mean, I hope so. I think they did something, I want to say maybe like 2-3 months ago, where they completely blocked certain mods off of the game, which people got very, very upset about, myself included, because I mean, there's a lot of things that I mean, these modders work hard. I mean, a lot of modders on the games, I mean, you really only see it on PC, but they work incredibly hard to do what they do. And I think, them getting cut off by 2K was kind of a shady move. But I do think they're open to ideas. And I think maybe they'll eventually, my hope is that they'll reach out and kind of have a relationship with certain, people who do mod the game to kind of get tips from them and advice on just maybe what they can do to kind of improve on the game. So that way, maybe modding won't be necessary for certain things. But, I personally, I gotta wait to play the full build to see, the full what's the word I'm looking for? Limitations of what can happen with this game.
Now, some are saying that this might be just a fresh coat of paint. Is the game that is just like, well, they're still working on the same build from 23 and 22. Are we seeing a revamp here? Are we seeing a not say a different coat of paint, but actually some kind of next innovation in the gameplay here?
So yeah, I feel like when 2K22 came out, that was kind of just like the floor for what they wanted to do with, you know, the new revamped kind of engine for the game. So you've seen, you know, 23. I mean, it was just 22, but improved upon. This year, I mean, they took everything from previous years and they improved upon that. And I think they're just going to keep building and building every year. Like you see now the new additions of the ramp camera. Like you can literally switch the camera angle to be facing the ramp. You can literally go into spectator mode. So if you're not playing the game and you're just watching them like fight, you can literally like free cam and just like, kind of move the camera around to follow everybody that's, you know, that's competing with. So I think you're just going to see more improvements rather than just like a complete overhaul. I mean, at least for now, you're gonna see, you know, them building and building and building just with new features and new improvements to the game. Because I think they have a bunch of ideas, but you know, things just take time. So I think we're gonna see more and more just as the years go on. Yeah.
What's been the your favorite area of 2K24 so far? Something that maybe they've revamped or something that you've enjoyed playing before and now they've actually took it up another notch. Like what area have you've been focusing on?
I think the animations are a lot smoother. That's kind of been my favorite thing about it. I think there was a lot of times, you know, in the last couple of games, I mean, well, every year, where, you know, you try to do a move and either you just completely miss, you know, unnecessarily,
Right.
or it just kind of like looks sloppy, or just, you know, there's a whole bunch of things that aren't really taken into consideration. But now I think things are a little more realistic. Like say, for example, this year, if you are in like a multi-man match and there's two people on the outside of the ring and you're on the inside and you're going to dive to the outside, both people get knocked down, or everyone knocked down, rather than like, you know, one person or nobody falling down. It's like little things like that. I think the realism is a lot more prevalent there, which I mean, I can't wait to see stuff that I haven't even experienced yet, you know, as the game comes out, just because I feel like I haven't even scratched the surface yet with the gameplay that I've done so far.
Well, you know, clearly the bastard game part mode in which that people have their love hate, but more hate for, is the My Faction. Are they doing anything there to ramp that up?
So so I do believe that they're still doing My Faction this year. I think the problem that people, because I don't play it. I literally have never once even loaded it. I think I did maybe one time because they had like a special like John Cena action figure character you were able to use.
I remember that. If you went to Walmart or something.
Yeah. That's literally the only time I played it. I have no idea how it works. I do not even touch that mode. However, I do think that they know that people kind of weren't incentivized to play it last year. So I'm hearing things about, you know, you being able to get rewarded for playing it more, you know, in other modes of the game than just My Faction, which I hope so, because there's a lot of characters in there. My hope is that you can unlock characters that are specifically for My Faction and use them in other modes. Yeah, that was a big problem for the last couple of years. Is like you play My Faction, you get these attires that you can't use outside of My Faction. I think that's kind of lame, personally. So hopefully they fix it. I wasn't able to play My Faction at the event, but you know, if they do stuff like that, I mean, that gives everybody an incentive to actually play it. You know what I mean? If you get to, you know, be rewarded in other modes with it. So
we saw the progression from the year prior to last year of My GM. They opened it up a little bit more of my GM. Anything that we say could be worked under that they cleared up under the hood for My GM?
So from what I've seen, I think that they've added a lot more shows. I think they're teasing an ECW show to have on My GM. I believe that, I don't quote me on that, but I believe I saw something about that in kind of the tease that they were doing for it.
Right.
But yeah, I think every mode definitely got improved on at least a little bit this year. I mean, I think, and even as the year goes on, you're going to see, I mean, more updates. I feel like that's what's happened the last few years. It's been okay. Well, we released the game. I get feedback from the creators. Now we're getting feedback from the regular community, and then stuff that they feel like they can tweak or needs to be tweaked. They'll do that, as time goes on. But I think my GM specifically, I'm excited to play that because I think they added a lot more into it this year.
Let me ask you, because when it comes to the game modes, the WWE 2K always offers your story modes, your career, my career, all that type of stuff. My universe continues to stay. Which modes do you usually play the most out of, like, when you go into 2K?
Well, online mode is my thing. You know what I mean? I'm an online.
Yeah, I will get into that later. But as far as like my GM and universe, like, do you usually play with that the most?
Well, yeah, no, universe mode for sure. Yeah, I have a whole other universe mode series that I do with the wrestlers in the game, and this year was kind of annoying because there were certain things that were kind of overlooked. Like, you were able to, they have cutscenes now in universe mode, so you can like set up like rivalry actions and like cutscenes, but it was very flawed. Like, you couldn't choose some people that would be involved in the cutscene. It would be like random people, and it would make no sense to whatever story you were trying to tell. I believe that got fixed this year. I'm going to be playing the full build later on, but yeah, they talk of a big game now about we're not overhauled, but we've improved on everything. So fingers crossed on that one. Universe mode is a big deal for me. Hopefully, they do stuff with it.
And what's your thoughts on the 2K showcase mode and the my career stuff? Because I think for me growing up, a lot of the Road to WrestleMania stuff, where the creativity, where you have a chosen superstar, you take them to like 3-6 months to WrestleMania. That showed a lot of craziness, because especially like when you think back to like SVR 09, you had The Undertaker's Road to WrestleMania, and you're making Finlay and Santino zombies, like that craziness going on. Like, what's your take on the whole story mode type of stuff and my career?
Yeah, so what I've liked that they've done for the last couple of years, because before with the whole my career stuff, it was just kind of, you had a couple of cutscenes in the beginning, and then once you get to a certain point, it's like, all right, well, we kind of just repeat the same thing over and over again. But now it's like an actual beginning to end of a story, and it's kind of similar to Road to WrestleMania, because I mean most of the storylines that they have end at WrestleMania or like SummerSlam or whatever. But no, I mean, I think that the last couple of story mode, my career things, that they've been very good. I mean, it's gotten mixed reviews. I personally really like it. I'm excited to see what it is this year. I haven't even been able to play that one yet, but yeah, I mean, every year for the My Rise, they do a men's and women's one now.
Mm-hmm.
They've been good. They've been good. I have no complaints about it.
What's your no, go ahead, Mike.
I was gonna say for like the My Rise, the career one, I would say for 22, like you said, there's certain cutscenes, but then once you completed all of them, there was pretty much nothing then. Nothing after that. It was like, oh, now it's either you could play again or higher difficulty or just retire. I think with last year, at least they actually gave us an ending to most of, to both of them. Actually, you either ended at SummerSlam or WrestleMania.
Sure.
But for your content, you do a lot of online stuff. Why is it always online stuff? Like, what's the appeal?
So I'm a competitive player. You know what I mean? Like I go very hard when I play this game. It's just fun because I feel like there's only so many times you can play against the computer. Because I feel like the computer has the same patterns every single time. You know what I mean? Like, buddy, you play a computer and it's like, okay, well, after this many moves, he's probably going to reverse, or they're going to act like this, or they're going to do that. When you play an actual person, it's you have to work way harder. It's a lot more competitive to win a match. And it's always fun to feel like you're better at the game than other people. You know what I mean? So I've been doing online mode for a long time, and I'm a very competitive person. So being able to apply that into a passion that I have, which is wrestling, and then the wrestling video games, that's been a big factor for me, because I'm very competitive when it comes to that.
Yeah, for so many years, the online scene was pretty much people making monstrous dicks or like monsters, just disturbing things, and they just hit RKO as their first move, and then they just do shoving. It was such a nightmare for me that I was you know what? Compared to I played with you once before, and then with Mark and Ray are close friends, where I feel now they have a better balance of online, which thank God that you don't see a lot of these fucking dicks with giant ass dicks.
No, yeah, you can like filter a lot of stuff. Like if you don't want to play with a custom character, you can choose not to. If you can even change like the pin system and like you can just modify whatever rules you want. That wasn't really a thing before. I mean, in the early online like games like 2K14, you were able to modify a lot of stuff. Between like 15 and man, I want to say like 20, it was just okay. You load into a match and whatever happens. But now you can really filter it out so you can have the experience that you want to have. You want to go competitively, you can probably get a match like that. If you want to do casual, you can make the settings so it's more of a casual experience. They've done a very good job kind of filtering it out so you don't have to have a miserable time if you don't want to. Yeah, the online. I mean, I had a really big problem with online this year just because the servers weren't the best. I don't know if you experienced that where it would just crash in the middle of a match. It'd be like, oh well, an error has occurred or whatever. That happens a lot this year. So yeah, I'm definitely gonna need to ask about that for this year because I can't do that 2 years in a row for sure.
I'm a creation guy. I love to see the creativity with other individuals when they're creating their wrestlers or their shows and stuff like that. Because I immediately what I do is I first play the road to WrestleManias, or I mean the showcase modes or the My Rises, get me busy for the next couple of weeks because I know it's gonna take creators a few weeks to put together some stuff, so I could see like how close they can get to getting a Kenny Omega or MJF kind of deal and stuff like that. And then when I want to make my own stuff, the uploading of the images and stuff like that, I'm very involved with that. Has there been like an overload as well when it came to have you heard anything about the creator, the creation suites and such?
So I mean, I think every year they add more things, which I feel like is good for the game. I feel like they don't really take stuff out in terms of the creation suites. They've honestly, I mean, the last few years they've improved upon it a lot. I feel like such a 2K show right now, but I got to give credit where credit because I feel like the characters that they make. I mean, you can go in community creations right now and see. You can look up any like AEW wrestler, any independent wrestler, and the models that they have for these guys that people have made are insane. Like, I mean, obviously, 2K gave whatever resources to do that, but these people, I mean, these like actual creators out there are doing a damn good job making like these realistic people. So I can only assume it's going to be, even better this year. Yeah, again, it sucks because the build that I played was very, very limited. I'm going to be playing the full one, as I said before, later in the month. So I'm definitely going to be able to experiment with the, creation suite and stuff like that. But I have to assume that's going to be improved upon 100%.
I was kind of shocked that they would. The game is a month away to be released.
I know.
Yeah. Are we kind of nervous about it being like that right there? Like, are we kind of nervous that it's going to be buggy? Are we going to see, are we nervous that we might have to get a day one patch? I can imagine that we get a day one patch, but
I'm sure there's going to be a day one patch. I am a little nervous about that just because, I feel like there's not enough time between, us being able to get feedback and the game actually coming out for there to really be a big difference. But when I played it felt good. I mean, everything that they've included in the game, like you can like throw weapons and stuff like that now. You can like
I saw that. That's a very cool touch that they put in.
No, absolutely. You can like throw them into a vending machine and a water bottle pops, so you can pick it up and like throw it at somebody, stuff like that. So I'm sure it's gonna be buggy. I mean, I feel like every game nowadays, which is weird because I feel like that shouldn't be the case. But every game that comes out always has bugs to it, which is annoying. So I'm assuming that that's going to be the case again. But yeah, we're gonna have to see.
Yeah, I want to answer Jay. Put my 2 cents. I feel since the whole collapse of 2K20, they've learned their lesson. So that's why they kind of took a break. This is why we didn't get a 2K21.
Sure.
Where I feel in 2K22 they completely reset everything. Like there's no more 3 reversal system, none of that type of stuff. So they completely overhauled everything. And then, Jareen, I want to ask you this. As a guy that looks forward to the game every year, the question is always with the roster, as we see on the screen, like the superstars and their ratings. I always find myself going to the roster and saying, okay, you're probably staying, you're not, you're released, you're not coming back next year. Are you the type of person that cares about the roster? Because every year the 2K selling point is the largest roster in wrestling history, and then like I saw for this year, it's like over 200 characters. Meanwhile, probably like duplicates of like 5 different people. But what are your thoughts on the rosters?
Yeah, no, I absolutely agree with you. You get like 15 Charlottes, and they're like, "Oh, the biggest roster, of all time." Yeah, that I'm not the biggest fan of, because I mean, there's only so many times you could play with every version of John Cena, every version of Rey Mysterio or whatever. But and I mean, there's also certain people that they add into these games that I don't care about. I mean, what am I going to play as Doink? You know what I mean? Like, what am I going to sit here and play as Doink? But I mean, people have the option. That's not necessarily a bad thing, but I think it's a little con artisty to be like, hey, we have the largest roster of all time, and then here's like 14 Hulk Hogan's. You know what I mean? Like that.
Right.
That shouldn't count to me, but. I mean, variety is not necessarily a bad thing. I'm trying to play devil's advocate. I have no idea. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I mean, the variety for 2K, I give them credit where they come out left field with some of the characters. I mean, the last couple of DLC packs were very interesting, where they had like Dork the Clown in one, they had Yokozuna, like Zeus. I remember throwing that out last year. It was like they're gonna throw in Zeus, and meanwhile they threw in Zeus. The Boogeyman's back in the game.
Oh yeah.
But as far as like I mean, there's definitely gonna be duplicates because of the WrestleMania showcase. We're gonna see a lot of those.
Sure.
And then also with like overalls, I do that type of person that care too much about overalls, or
no, I mean, especially considering what I mean, when I do online stuff, that really doesn't play a factor in it too much, unless you're playing with like a really, really low overall. Yeah, that never really meant anything to me. I mean, they do like the whole like reveal thing or whatever, where like I wasn't even allowed to show the overalls in the videos that I was doing, because they wanted to like do a whole like reveal themselves.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I never really cared about that. You know what I mean? I feel like the only people who would really care about that are the wrestlers themselves. You know what I mean? Like if I like pulled up and they were like, "Hey, you're like a 71," I'd be like, "Damn," you know what I mean? I'd be like, like what the hell? But yeah, no, that was never really too big of a deal for me.
And the last thing on the roster thing, I'm sorry, Jay, I just wanted to bring this up with that. As far like, because every year we get this game. Do you think we should get like updated attires? Because I mean, when the game releases, like last year we had Tommaso Ciampa and like Miz like tag team gear. Meanwhile, like I understand we could like edit and create our own thing, but wouldn't it be better if 2K, along with updates, just update everybody's attire?
That'd be awesome. I mean, that's even. I mean, they feel like they released Bad Bunny like a separate attire for like $10 last year. That was ridiculous to me. I feel like just like a whole DLC pack with like updated attires for like a lot of people, that'd be beautiful. You don't even necessarily have to have, a bunch of characters for a DLC. You can do other ones like that. So I feel like that would be a cool addition. I think I could be wrong about this, but I believe they're going to be adding the new WrestleMania arena into the game later on in the year. Yeah. So that's a step in the right direction. I feel like it'll be cool to have, not an outdated WrestleMania arena 2 months after the game comes out. You know what I mean? So
I feel they did that with NXT 2.0. Like after the game released, like 3 months later, they added that arena in as like a free update.
Yeah, I completely forgot about that. But yeah, that was cool. That was cool they did that.
Yeah, I've always said that, being 2K and such, the NBA franchise always seems to be on the barometer of making the changes that they need to make. Like,
sure.
A team has a updated uniform. Like during that season, they'll, hey, check this out. You got a new uniform for said team. Or if they have to do like the tournament uniforms, they'll have the tournament uniforms there. I always said that WWE should do the same. Like, if Kevin Owens comes out with a new shirt, why don't we just have him with a new shirt? Why? Have you ever heard why that there isn't that kind of balance of bringing that to the forefront for WWE games?
No, I never had the conversation. I feel like Community Creations though hooks it up a lot, because I feel like once you see somebody come out with a new attire, within like a day, you see people already making like the same attires that you can just download and put on that character yourself. So maybe they haven't even felt like they needed to, because other people are just making.
A pain in the ass is that it takes a slot from me when I
yeah, no, that's a great point.
So
That's a great point.
you know, and I'm trying to build my, you know, my AEW or my TNA shows, and you know, I gotta get 3 Kevin Owenses so I can get it. Like, come on.
Yeah, no, that was a big criticism from a lot of people, like the limited amount of slots you can use for like downloadable content. I don't know why there's a limit in the first place. I don't know why the hell they even have a limit. It's, you know.
Yeah, I think with next gen now, you would think that, you know, the RAM and such and whatever technical hoobaloo that you use, that you would think that, you know, you could have all these slots open. I've downloaded for Fire Pro. Now, mind you, the sprites and such are they're small in scale. No, I got like 700 wrestlers in Fire Pro. Like, honestly, it's insane. Any little secrets that you might be able to share that you know of right now that's going on?
Ooh, for the new game. Let me think. Hold on.
Any
DLC hints?
Any possibilities of DLC?
No.
You heard
Yeah, no, I don't know anything about DLC. They haven't told us anything about DLC. However, from what it seems like, I feel like we might be getting a Firefly Funhouse match in the showcase mode, which
really?
I love it.
So just from the tease that they've done, I haven't been able to see it myself yet, but it seems like that's the direction that they're going in. So I actually know one of the people that did mocap for the game this year, and he's got kind of, you know, the shape of Bray Wyatt. so I think, you know, that plus the tease that they've done, you know, the whole John Cena NWO shirt and stuff like that. I think that might be one of the showcase matches, but yeah, that's gonna be cool because that's gonna be a whole unique experience. I feel like to play with.
So let me ask you this, Jareen. So with everything we've been talking about with like the free cam and overall gameplay, would you agree that this year's game is leaned towards more like the YouTube creators with the free cam, and then as far as like the gameplay stuff is like for beginners, like for like just like to pick up a game and just say fuck it. If I want to throw a hammer at somebody's head, I'm gonna throw a hammer at somebody's head. If I want to throw a water bottle, that type of thing. Would you say 2K is leaning more towards that direction going forward?
No, I absolutely think so. I mean, I feel like content creators are way more. I mean, not even just people that, you know, are getting like flown out to these events. There's so many people that are just like streaming this game and like, you know, playing the game. So I feel like the more cater to it is for those certain people. Like you can do, like they even have an option for the music in the game, or you can turn it off, like creator safe mode. You know what I mean? Like they literally have stuff specifically for content creators. And just, you know, stuff like with the camera or whatever. I think that's definitely for people who are making content, which is cool because I feel like, again, like the more people are incentivized to make videos throughout the year with this game, the more successful this game would be. I feel like that's a no-brainer. You know what I mean? So it's cool to see them. I don't want to say finally, but yeah, finally kind of do stuff to cater to those people for sure.
Favorite wrestling game of all time?
All time, 2K14 is gotta be my favorite of all time. That's when they had the special guest referee mode. You could do a finisher where you like have like 9 setup moves before you can do the actual move. You pick them up, put them down, kick them, like punch them. You know what I mean? The creation suite in there was pretty cool. You got to incorporate that in online. I mean, the servers were stable as hell. You got to play a match from every WrestleMania. You had the first 29 WrestleMania arenas in that game. The beat the streak mode with the Undertaker, where like he was like impossible to beat. Bro, that game is undefeated in my mind. That is such a beautiful game. A lot of people are gonna say like the old stuff, like No Mercy or like Here Comes the Pain or something like that. I'm a new school boy. 2K14 is my game, 100%.
Yeah, I know. You tend to forget that right there, it was the last of that dying breed until they went to next gen, and then
Yeah.
when we got 15, it was like woof. That was kind of tough there. But
yeah, the graphics was cool. I mean, the new graphics and stuff for that game was pretty sick. But that's about it. So.
Yeah, I laughed because the one thing that I thought was funny was when you were playing, I guess in that career mode and such, and someone you knew who had the game or created a wrestler, they would come out in your career as a wrestler. Like,
yes, that's right.
I'm like, who the hell is that? And I go to find out who it is. Like, how the hell did that happen? Like,
I totally forgot about that. Wow, you just unlocked it for me. Wow.
But Jareen, thanks for your time. Before I let you go, I just quick heads up. what you've been doing. Like I'm glad that we actually had you on the show because we've never had anybody on the show who's been so hands-on, not only with wrestling but with the video game aspect as well. Are you looking to do anything more out, with this as a maybe career or such? What are we doing with this?
No, absolutely. I mean, YouTube, currently right now is my full-time job. I just recently joined this group called Vibe, VYBE. They're a pretty successful 2K group, that we do, the group videos, playing the game. We actually have like a whole like space now that one of our guys, Brandon, has for us. We have like a wrestling ring and everything right now. I'm actually doing training.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I've been doing wrestling training in the ring that we got. So I got 24/7 access to a ring, which is pretty cool. Plus like a whole studio where I can record the videos and just like the space where we do the group videos and stuff like that. I've been very fortunate this last year, 100%. So Vibe has been a big deal for me to make this like a full-time gig. So yeah, I mean, this is gonna be a big year. I can't wait. I'm very excited.
That's phenomenal, man. That's awesome, man. You're living it. You're giving me hope that in my later years of when I'm retired from actual work, that I could probably do this in my 60s and somebody would down the line be like, "What the hell is this 63-year-old guy giving a fuck about playing 2K?" 37 or some shit like that.
Listen, I'd watch it. You know what I'm saying? I'd watch it.
Yeah, but thanks again for your time and let everybody know where they could get you at, Jareen.
Well, first of all, thank you for having me on here. Now you two are dope as hell. I mean, Small Afro YouTube channel, we upload every other day. I'm uploading 2K24 content for the next couple of days, so stay tuned. You're not gonna want to miss it.
And just want to ask, can we get you back in a couple of weeks after you get the full game and get your thoughts about it?
Oh, absolutely. I can give you all the inside scoops. I got you. Don't worry about it.
All right, brother. Mike, keep the connection there, and thanks again for your time, Jareen. And guys, don't go anywhere. We have much to talk about on the podcast, and yeah, you always know. Stick around. We'll be back in a minute. All right, brother. Thanks again, man. That was
Thank
awesome.
you guys. I appreciate it.
Really good. And like I said, in the next couple of weeks, I'll have Mike reach out for you for when you get the full bill. So that
no, absolutely. I'll let you know anything you need to know for sure.
Can't wait.
All right.
2, 1, 0. All engine running. Liftoff.